To present our Lifetime Achievement Award is an Academy Award winner and the former president of the DGA, Mr. Taylor Hackford.
You know how much I and my colleagues value you, because when it comes down to it, on so many levels, you deliver the look of our films. And the collaboration between me, my production designer, and you as a group, but as individuals on each film, make the look of the film. And let me tell you something else. Real locations make the director's life easier when it comes to performance. Because actors, if they're on a set and there's an unnatural situation, may not be totally real. And it's the director's job to kind of bring them into a phony environment, or let's not take it away from production designers, a beautiful environment inside may not give them a sense of reality, but outside real locations definitely help you, because they're in reality. That means they're going to give you a real performance. So all this said, I'm out here to celebrate a friend, a collaborator, and an amazing talent, Dow Griffith. Let me just say this. De Palma, 3 times. Jewison, 3 times. Mazursky, Scorsese, Spielberg, 4 times. Efron, Johnson, Aronofsky, Greengrass, Stiller, Shyamalan, Soderbergh, Gilroy, me, 3 times. Those names are, I hope you recognize them, but the fact is, we all work with Dow. And we have Dow, and when I was doing a film called Proof of Life, which had a lot of international locations, and especially in South America, I was working at Castle Rock, and there was a head of physical production named Jeff Stott, and I go, God, I'm going to have this person and that person on this. He says, no, you need one person. Dow Griffith. I said, who is he? Has he worked around here? No, he doesn't work domestic. He only works outside the United States, and you send one person. He doesn't need an assistant. He doesn't go with an army of people. He goes in himself, and I said, well, are you sure he can? He said, believe me, he delivers. So that's how I met Dow, and I found out it was all true. And we had a fantastic collaboration. I mean, I was in the Peace Corps in South America. I know I was in Bolivia, so I'm not uncomfortable there. But I said, who is this guy from Seattle, Washington, who's going to go in and charm? And he did. And I'm going to give you a little idea about what is involved sometimes. You all know. We go there, we go to Ecuador. The film was about kidnap and ransom in Colombia. We couldn't shoot in Colombia because it wasn't safe. Castle Rock went, oh, we'll shoot in Mexico. I had the best security company in the world called Control Risk out of London. They said, you do not want to shoot in Mexico, because if there is kidnap and ransom, in Colombia, they negotiate and the people are returned if you pay the right amount of money. In Mexico, they're never returned because most of the kidnappers are police. These are things you need to know. We're shooting in Ecuador. Dow sets up a meeting for me with the president, President Mawat. And he's charming. He taught at Harvard. He's very lovely. And he said, no problem. Everything's fine. I'll make everything available to you. I thought Castle Rock know that. We can't go to Mexico. This is safe. Ecuador is a safe country. Everything's cool. I go back to London where I'm doing more pre-production work. And the word comes out that there has been a coup in Quito. A coup. After I've sold this, I'm dead. I'm dead in the water. There's no way that Castle Rock is going to let me go. And I called Dow, and Dow said, listen, my intelligence tells me that Vice President Noboa, who's from a very rich banana growing family in Ecuador, is going to come in and take over. It's going to be bloodless. It's going to happen. It's going to happen by Monday. And I said, Dow, you better fucking be right. So I call up Jeff Stott and Martin Schaefer, who are the head of Castle Rock, and they say, it's over. We're going to Mexico. Forget it. It's hysterical. And I say, no. Ecuador has a tradition of democracy. It's going to be over by Monday. And I'm betting you, all right, that it's over by Monday. If it's not over by Monday, I'll give up and we'll come back and make it in Mexico. And I then called Dow. I said, the die is cast, baby. You better be right. And he was. On Monday, the transition of power happened. Noboa became president. And because they'd taken my bet, they couldn't renege. So anyway, these are the kinds of things that you know that the director and the location scout go through. And these are things that are fantastic, but nobody ever sees it. Ecuador was wonderful in the film, but nobody knows that story. It's not something you want to repeat, but he and I know it. And this is called the bond. You trust the person that's finding your locations. The other thing is this, and really important. The designer and the director create the look of the film. If you come in, your jobs are split. The scout and the manager. Sometimes they go together. Sometimes they don't. You have a great scout who understands the look of the picture, but they can't manage the location. As we were talking earlier about, oh, gee, this woman's house was destroyed. You need a manager for that. But to go out and find the look of the picture, you need a scout. And Dow has both talents, although he'd rather scout than manage. So in any event, I'm here celebrating somebody I love. The fact that this organization is giving him the Lifetime Achievement Award pleases me immensely. And I'd like to now just throw it to the screen, and we'll see some clips from his work.
When I was growing up, I couldn't really read and flunked second grade and started to focus more on visuals. And I think that's what ultimately helped guide me into filmmaking. When I was home one summer from college, a John Wayne movie came to Seattle. It's called McHugh. And so I started trespassing, and I was on the set so much that I think some of the people thought I was a producer or something. I traveled with them doing car stunts on the beaches of Washington and filming in bars and hotel rooms. So some of the people on the crew invited me to come down to Hollywood if I ever got there, look them up. And I did move down to Hollywood. I heard that they were looking for a location manager on a movie called Carrie with Brian De Palma. But I had no idea what a location manager actually was. When I was in the interview, of course, they said, well, have you done this before? And I said, oh, yeah, many times. And there was this cafe, and he looked at me, and he said, how do you expect me to shoot this? It's too small. And, if I'd been more experienced, I would have said, okay, let's move on. Instead, I said, well, I was thinking, walk the characters in the front door, but the camera stays on the outside, and we shoot through the glare and the reflections, and then we push in through the back door, and it's over the shoulder, and that's the scene. And he said, so this is what you want to do, huh? And I was hired and did the whole film. I have to say my most favorite project was working with Taylor Hackford on Proof of Life. It was a true story about an American working in South America in Colombia being kidnapped and taken up into the jungles and the high altiplano and so on for a ransom. We wanted to be true to the location, and At that time, we couldn't get insurance to film in Colombia. So we filmed across the border in Ecuador, where virtually no real large feature films had been done from Hollywood. So we were starting from scratch, and that was exciting. I'd say that working with Frank Marshall and Kathy Kennedy on various films is always an adventure. I was assigned to go and find a nice little jungle environment, maybe Florida or maybe Acapulco, and I just kept going further and further south until I ended up in Venezuela. And I met a guy in a bar who had a helicopter, and we took off over the jungle. And as I looked down and I saw the jungle canopy below and not a sign of civilization anywhere, it was pretty thrilling. I remember that was one of the first times I'd been in quite that wild of an environment. People do approach you and say, "Sounds like a great job. How do I get into it?" I used to sneak on the lot of Columbia, for instance, and just start knocking on doors with my pathetic little resume. One time, Steve McQueen opens the door, and he says, "Hey, come on in, kid," and he's socializing with his stunt man, and got his boots up on the table, and you sit down, you start to ask questions and talk, and one thing leads to another, and that's the way that I recommend is move to where the action is, knock on doors, trespass, and don't forget, in the beginning, exaggerate a little bit. You ever done this before? Yeah, sure.
It's with great pleasure that I present the 2023 Location Managers International Lifetime Achievement Award to my friend, Dow Griffith.
Standing ovation for Lifetime Achievement Award is just applause that you're still standing. Thank you, nonetheless. And thank you, Taylor, for traveling halfway around the world to be here for me. It really means a lot. We share a special bond that can only be created and reinforced in the trenches of filming a feature motion picture together. And in a career with never a dull moment, our particular collaboration on Proof of Life that we've been discussing rates for the top of extraordinary challenges and hurdles we successfully triumphed over. And much of that has to do with the kind of collaborative person you are as an individual and as a professional. So thank you. I owe my career to people like Taylor Hackford, Frank Marshall, Kathy Kennedy, and Richard Vane, who's here tonight. Big guy. Thanks for a lifetime of friendship. Brian De Palma gave me my first job as a location manager in 1975, and ever since then, many other people have dared to give me assignments that created this, quote, achievement, which is really an award for showing up to work every day to have fun making movies so people around the world can enjoy them. It's like saying that being paid for traveling the globe, learning from such inspired and talented people, is somehow an award-winning achievement, when really it's a privilege. Filmmaking has also allowed me to meet and sit with influential people from time to time, like Ella Fitzgerald, Muhammad Ali, Bill Clinton, John Wayne, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, Jane Goodall, and Eva Monley. I met Eva Monley for lunch. She invited me up to her flat in London. Very charming woman. This award comes at a perfect time for me when I can still remember what it's for. Whenever I can recall the distant past, I marvel at how far we've come as professionals. Back in 1976, I was able to organize one of the studio lots, or at least help out with it, along with Richard Vane. And now Hollywood location managers are represented by Teamsters Local 399. Progress! Here's some other things that were lacking when I began going down this long road. Film commissions, location libraries, location services, cell phones, digital cameras, GPS, geotagging, digital maps, forums like SoCal Scouts and local lists, computers, and the entire World Wide Web. I'm not sure how we did that, but I do remember Jane Bartlemy, producer, saying to me, "Dow, you should get a computer just for the spell check feature alone." Visual effects became a reality, and so we no longer had to do things like remove telephone poles and electric lines for period films. I still can't believe we did that. We have now teams of assistant location manager professionals so that we don't have to do the job solo. And most importantly, we now have the Location Managers Guild International, where location managers from all over the world finally have found what they're looking for: a home, a community, with a really slick magazine, and sponsors, and award shows, which brings us to this moment now. Happy anniversary, LMGI, 20 years, 10 years of awards. It seems like 10 years ago, Lori Bolton was cajoling me into accepting this award. I had to use some smooth moves to dodge that, but this year, Robin Citron finally got me. I thought it was an invitation to a fam trip, but this will do. I can dodge it no longer. Thank you for this honor. As the Lifetime Awards go, this is an honor of a lifetime.